Alright, so you have just produced a track and right now you want to make it sound thicker, fatter and meaner. Back then, the way you would do that and achieve that is to add plugins like compressors, harmonic plugins, saturation plugins, and even sometimes doubling the track to make it sound thicker and fatter. Thankfully, today we have plugins that enable us to make our sound fatter with just a few tweaks. In this video today, I want to show you Thickify, which is a saturation plugin that helps you make your sound fatter with just a few knobs. Now, before I walk you through the plugin and show you how it sounds like on some tracks, let me just show you the track I'm working on. Alright, so obviously I already have the Thickify plugin on some of these tracks. It's already working quite well without me doing any sort of like heavy mixing on these tracks here. To really hear the effect of Thickify on a track, I set up a synth and let me just show you how this synth sounds like without Thickify. It already sounded not too bad, but let's give it a bit of more bite, make it sound fatter with Thickify, and I'll walk you through the plugin right now. So to load out the plugin on a track, all you have to do is just go to your audio effects plugin track and go and search for Rocket Powered Sound, that's the maker, and add in Thickify. Now basically we have a few knobs here. So first of all we have the main knob, which is you can also see this guy here getting fatter, right? So it's making a sound thicker, right? So with just a tweak of this knob, it adds saturation and some harmonics to your sound, making it sound fatter. So let's hear this in action. You also have a tone slider where you can target the tone, the frequencies where you want to add that thickness to. So immediately I can hear my sound already sounding a bit fatter right now. Of course, what I found is that if you turn up the knob too high, your sound tends to get a bit boxy. So you might want to go easy on these knobs here. And leave it around there. Now we also have another two knobs here which is quite important, which is the stress and also the drive knob. Now the stress is where we add the input gain before distortion is added to the sound. So it adds a kind of bite to that sound. So it's more aggressive right now and works pretty well with this sound here. Now drive adds a bit of like overdrive to your sound and it gives it the kind of like distortion that you want. Now I find that if you turn it up too much, your sound might begin to sound a little bit thinner with all that drive going on. So you want to go easy again, just a little bit does it. Let me show you the sound before Thickify, what we've done here, and after. So this is before. Alright, and now with a more aggressive, better sounding right now, yeah? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to just play a quick track here with Thickify on, obviously, and let's go. Made a mistake there. But it already sounds much better with Thickify on the track. And what I found is that Thickify works on most tracks from leads, bass, drums, even vocals. And what I found also is that you don't add too much of the knobs. You don't add too much of the plugin and the effect on a particular track. Go easy and that little bit actually adds a lot to your whole overall, music track here.
A few minutes later.
So here's how this track sounds like without Thickify. Now Now, if you go back to Thickify plugin, I want to point out a few more knobs and a few more functions that you might want to pay attention to before you start using this on your tracks. So, if you look at the right side of this plugin right here, we see that we have auto, and that's basically auto gain. So, after your sound goes through the plugin, it helps you to auto gain the level so it's not too loud, not too soft, just nice. We also have the bypass button, which is essentially the same thing as your turning off and turning on to the plugin. Now, we also have oversampling function here, which is interesting because what oversampling does is the plugin actually processes your sound at a higher sample from the project that you're working on and then reduce it back to the project sample rate. Why it does that is because with plugins like Thickify, saturation plugins, it actually adds some audio artifacts towards your sound, and sometimes that can be undesired. So if you hear some audio artifacts starting to creep into your sound, you might want to turn off the 4x oversampling so the plugin samples your sound at a higher sample rate so that you eliminate some of that audio artifacts that might occur. Obviously, with oversampling, you'll be using more CPU power on your computer, so if you have Thickify on a lot of tracks, you might want to go easy on that as well. But sometimes, in some cases, you might like that audio artifacts that comes into your sound. So if that's the case, trust your ears and just leave it at 2x if you want to. Now, finally, we have the level slider, which is basically the output gain after the sound has gone through the whole plugin, and that's the output gain. So with all this driving happening, with all this saturation happening, sometimes the sound might be a bit too hot, too loud. So you want to turn it down a little bit depending on how you're tuning the sound. But all in all, very simple interface, and with just a few seconds, you're adding a bit of fatness and thickness to your sound. I think this is very, very convenient. So that's Thickify for you. So that is Thickify. Let me know what you think about the plugin. Will you be using it in your tracks? Do you think this is something that is useful? And for its price, do you think this is something that is worth to be added to your arsenal of plugins? Let me know in the comment section down below, and if you have questions, put them down below as well. I'd love to hear from you. Until then, I'll see you in an upcoming video. Thanks.